Hello and welcome to the College Football Insiders podcast, where we break down the biggest questions in college football. And we will be looking at which teams contend for JT Daniels services right after this. And we're back. So, just looking at JT Daniels, he coming out of high school, he was a very highly ranked recruit, 99.9919 coming out of high school on 24/7 Sports. And was ranked number 16th nationally, number 2 pro quarterback, number 2 in California. And looking at his offer sheet, he had offers from Alabama, Michigan, USC. So, and other schools like that, very good offers. He was invited to the U.S. Army All-American Bowl, obviously. And he is 6'2", 205 pounds. He is a pro-style quarterback, so 6'2", 205 pounds is it's all right for a quarterback. It's nothing too great. And he did do pretty well in college. Looking at his career stats in 2018, he actually started the season. His rating was 128.6. And he threw for 2,672 yards, so pretty good, about 200 yards a game, assuming they made the bowl game. And his completion percentage was 59.5, which is nothing too great, it's okay. He completed 216 attempts. He averaged 7.4 yards per throw, and he had 14 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So, again, nothing too great, but he was a freshman in 2018. So, what else can you really expect? So, in 2019, I think he only played one game. His completion percentage went up 70 to 73.5%, and he had 215 yards, 6.3 yards per attempt, so it went down, and he threw one touchdown and one interception, and his rating was 130.5 in that one game. So, pretty good quarterback. I'm not going to say he's like a Justin Fields type transfer, but he is a pretty good quarterback. Not going to lie. So kind of what I wanted to do is look back at his high school profile and then talk about the teams that are in contention for him. So coming out of high school, he was a 6'2" quarterback, pro-style quarterback, 205 pounds, 5-star quarterback from Santa Ana, modern day, the California powerhouse, national powerhouse, actually. And he was invited to the All-American Bowl. And when you look at his film, I think he was a little tad bit overrated, but he because of the wide receiver talent he did have, but I think he is still a pretty good quarterback. He has all the intangibles that a quarterback needs, and he is very accurate, and his awareness is really good too, and his feet are pretty good. His arm strength is, I'd rate it a 7 or an 8 out of 10. His size, he is a little bit on the smaller side. Not too small, but pretty average. So yeah. He was ranked 16th in the country as a high school prospect. And he was ranked 6th in the nation by 24/7 Sports, but by 24/7 Sports Composite, he was ranked 16th. So, yeah. So let's talk about the teams that are in contention for him. One of them is Tennessee. So, Tennessee, they have a very intriguing offense for him. I think it really fits who he is. And Daniels does have ties to Tennessee because the assistant head coach, T. Martin, was the co-offensive coordinator at USC. So that could really help Daniels look at Tennessee, and that would be really good for Tennessee. I think that if Daniels went to Tennessee, that would be a huge upgrade from Tennessee's quarterback last year. And I think if he played there, he would be a really good quarterback. Not a really good quarterback, but a pretty good quarterback. And he does have first day potential, and which means obviously first round. And I really think that if he went to Tennessee, he would probably get the starting job. And so another team that might look at him is LSU. So Ed Orgeron obviously losing a bunch of players to the draft, and Miles Brennan is looking at his highlight reel. He was a pretty good quarterback, but he's nothing like what I saw from JT Daniels. And they just lost Joe Burrow, who had arguably one of the best seasons in college football. So that's going to be really tough to replace. And I think if LSU can rake in JT Daniels, that would be really good for the LSU offense because JT Daniels is very much like Joe Burrow in some of the ways he plays. They're both pro-style quarterbacks. They both can use their legs but don't use them that much. And I feel like, in my opinion, JT Daniels is a little more athletic, but just a little more. I don't think his athleticism is too crazy. So, and Ed Orgeron, he has sprouted a relationship with JT Daniels, as LSU had offered JT Daniels in high school, which is going to really help JT Daniels look at LSU. I think LSU is probably one of the biggest schools that are in contention for him. I think they're definitely going to be interested in him, and I think that, who knows, you might go there down the line. And so another school I think may try to get him is Michigan. So Michigan lost their starter Shea Patterson to the draft. Well, he went undrafted, but that's a different story. Now the job is between Dylan McCaffrey and Joe Milton for the starting job at Michigan. Personally, I think Joe Milton is more talented than JT Daniels, and Joe Milton is 6'4", on the bigger side of 6'4", has a crazy arm, has been working on his accuracy, and I just think he has, according to my sources, he has day one talent, and he has that kind of potential, which I think JT Daniel has, but not to the extent that Joe Milton has. Michigan was one of JT Daniels' biggest JT Daniels was one of Michigan's biggest targets coming out of high school, and that could really help Michigan if they're trying to look at JT Daniels, and I think that they have a good chance if they push for him. But personally, since I'm a Michigan fan, I don't really think that they should, just because there are two guys who've definitely earned the job over him, and I think if Jim Harbaugh brings in another transfer quarterback, which he has done many, many times, I just think it won't be beneficial to the team. And I think Michigan is definitely in contention for him, but I personally, as a Michigan fan, I do not think that Michigan should push for him. But if Michigan does that, well, then they do. So another team I wanted to talk about in contention for him is Penn State. Now, this one's complicated. Penn State is a complicated team, as they had Sean Clifford last year, who started all 12 games for the Nittany Lions last year. He did not play too bad. He played pretty well, actually. He's not as skilled as JT Daniels, and JT Daniels is a little better of a quarterback, in my opinion, than him. JT, they kind of have similar games. Like both of them don't run that much, even though Sean Clifford is probably more athletic, and Sean Clifford probably runs more. And yeah, I think Penn State could be able to get him if they push hard for him. So, moving on. Washington is the last team that I want to talk about today. Washington is also kind of complicated because there are two quarterbacks in contention for the job, Jacob Sirmon and Dylan Morris. They're both pretty talented, but I do think Daniels is more talented than both of them. And all Washington needs is one more year until they get the 5-star quarterback, Sam Heward. And then they can use him. But until then, they need a strong leader on their team, and I think JT Daniels can really bring that to them. It will be really hard at the beginning for Washington to be able to win a few of their first games because they play Michigan at home, but still with a new coach in Jimmy Lake and a new quarterback in JT Daniels, that could be really challenging. And we have seen teams try to do that, and they haven't really succeeded. But one thing is that JT Daniels was really considering Washington out of high school, so that could be a positive for Washington. And I think if Daniels stays in the Pac-12 and joins Washington, I think that Washington could really go to the next level and become a program that contends for the Pac-12 title, and that would be a really good thing to see for Washington fans, as not a lot has happened in Washington after they went to the college football playoff 4 years ago. So, yeah, so those are the teams that are in contention for JT Daniels, and thanks for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're watching it. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel, and thanks for listening. See you next time.